to you. Thank you for keeping it KBC Channel 1. This fine Monday morning, it's all about putting politics into perspective. I'm joined by Member of Parliament from Westlands constituency, Honorable Tim Wanyonyi Wetangula, this fine Monday morning. Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa, for joining me.
Thank you.
You can be part of this conversation. The hashtag is Good Morning Kenya on Twitter, at KBC Television, at Jane Obui, at Ray Manyara, and at myself, at Ram Aguko. Be part of the conversation. If you have any questions, comments, and you want to be part of the discussion, you can do so. So far, Honorable, there are many things that are happening within the country, and we can just start by putting into perspective. What do you think about the state of the nation so far in terms of the Big Four agenda? We have food security, manufacturing, housing, and there has been also debate concerning the housing levy. What are your general comments, even as you give your opening remarks about the state of the nation?
I think the state of the nation, what the President presented at Parliament about 2 weeks ago, he alluded that the state of the nation is that the nation is stable, the nation is happy, but the reality on the ground is totally different, because the state of the nation there's a lot of confusion, even regarding this Big Four agenda. Like, for example, the housing, which they have come up with a very controversial way of dealing with it, especially imposing levies on Kenyans when Kenyans are feeling already to be overtaxed. So some of these programs, I think they should have come up with them maybe a little much earlier. In fact, the time the president was in his first term, he should have started this program, because within 5 years, most of the time it will be involved in planning and trying to find a strategy on how they can deal with it. But to try to run it in a very, in a very small period of time.
The people were saying that the Big Four agenda will never be achieved. That is just a dream, will never come to pass.
It can be achieved if it's aligned, for example, to Vision 2030, so that we don't limit it, that within the term of the presidency of President Uhuru, he wants to achieve the Big Four agenda. If they go that direction, then it will never be realized, because the time is not there. They don't have the funds. The country is already overstretched with the debts. So if we are grappling on how to pay our debts, and then we are looking for other funding for the programs, then, and you find most of these things actually they are aligned to Vision 2030. So we can, if they go the direction of Vision 2030, it can be realized, because that's a long program of planning.
Should it be all about Vision 2030, in comparison to the president leaving a legacy? Where should the focus be?
The president can leave a legacy for this country by giving direction. Like, for example, if we can make the country more united, more stable, and then the country can focus on some of these important issues. For example, the issue of housing. I think if the government will come up with maybe a better idea, maybe reducing taxes on materials for construction, or waiving levy on some of those things, it will become cheaper for somebody to construct, for people to construct their houses.
Seemingly that won't happen.
It's a good idea, but how many Kenyans want to be the government to construct for them houses? I think it's not something that we have not done enough to find out from the people. The constituent profile for citizen participation, have we done that? Has the government done enough of that? So that they get the views of Kenyans, how many Kenyans would like the government? And from the way it's going, they are telling us this thing will become into a pata potea. It's not that you are assured that this house is constructed, you'll automatically be a beneficiary. It's saying that after that, they'll put in a lot, then whoever will come out may be the beneficiary.
But similarly, here we're talking about the cost now, the cost of living.
Yes.
Last week we had the Labor Day celebrations. People had expectations. In fact, according to Secretary General Francis Atuli had talked about wanting to, an increment in the wages, 15%.
Yeah.
But seemingly, people went home empty-handed. No one received what they expected. People went home. The prices of commodities are still high. The taxes are still there. In fact, maybe the promises that were made that they will revisit it later on might not come to pass. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, everything is based on the performance of the economy. But when the economy is not actually functioning, then even that increment in the salaries or any other thing is not going to work. You know, the cost of living is going up because if you look at the performance of the government, from the time the Kibaki exited from the scene up to now, things have changed and they're going backwards, not going forward. The debt, the country is incurring a lot of debts, both domestic and outside, because we are borrowing a lot. And when you look at it, when there's no circulation of cash within the economy, then something is not right. But
then we were looking into borrowing again. There were allegations maybe. We had information from the State House that it was not part of the agenda. Concerning the SGR, the former Prime Minister went to China. The President also went to China with regards to, getting loans. They say that it was not part of the agenda, but, it was a discussion all through. Regardless of it, 368 billion shillings loan for the SGR.
It was. I believe that was the only agenda they had when they went to China. And it didn't work because maybe there were some things that had not been cleared or were not made clear. But we still believe that the president and his government, they should start now rethinking on how to kickstart the economy, because I think we are going into a direction that is not very healthy for the country. If we keep on borrowing and borrowing, we are even like auctioning ourselves, because the Chinese are coming here and are telling us they want to take over our ports, they may take over our airports, they may take over to pay themselves.
But we had a debate about the Mombasa port there. The State House said information there from the media that we are not going to lose our port of Mombasa, that all the issues that were there have been sorted out.
What is happening is not, Chinese have done it in other countries. And I'm told when they were signing these loan contracts, some clauses were included there that the Chinese could come and, take over some government agencies and use them to pay themselves if the government fails to pay. The only way out here is for the government to service the loan. Not, so if they fail to do that, then the Chinese are ready. Look at the SGR. Who is running the SGR? It's the Chinese. They are the ones who are managing almost everything. So it is just possible that they come and fund projects and still remain around, manage them, pay themselves, and then maybe leave when they have already cleared their loans. So those projects that are funded by Chinese are not benefiting Kenyans immediately or directly. Speaking
of projects, so many projects have stalled within the country, and there's one thing that always comes up: corruption. Kimware Dam, the dams are all dams. This and many more projects have stalled because of corruption. Houses have been demolished, buildings have been demolished. We have people who have been evicted from their places of residence. Lands have been grabbed. Corruption. And there is one thing that Kiharu, a member of parliament, Ndindi Nyoro, had done in parliament. He presented a bill that wants corruption classified as a capital offense and, wanting it to be put in with serious prosecutions, even from the laws, from the judicial system. Do you agree with this bill that corruption should be put as a capital offense so far?
No, I don't, because corruption, there are laws addressing this issue of corruption. It's just that the government is not serious about enforcing these laws. If they did those laws are good enough to curtail anybody who wants to involved in corruption. The sanctions are there, the punishment is there, it's good enough. And what we are missing is the political goodwill. And if we want to succeed, some other countries like Malaysia, they succeeded by putting it from the top, they're working from the top. Anybody who is involved in corruption, not even that either you are directly involved or not, if your name is adversely mentioned in corruption, you are supposed to step aside, let the investigation be done, and if you are clean, then you can come back to your job.
In other countries, people resign.
People resign because...
But in Kenya, people say, I would rather die than resign.
People take even moral responsibility. For example, something happened under my watch, and I'm not the one involved, but under my watch, there are people working under me. So if something happens like that, the top leadership of that ministry or that agency must step aside. He must resign, just citing that, yes, I have failed to manage the affairs of this ministry, and this happened under my watch. But here you'll find they go and fire small people, and the head of that department does not take responsibility. You realize in America, one of the American presidents says the buck stops at his desk. So it must always end at the head of that department. It cannot be the chief. If the minister is there, it cannot be that small, very person in the village. It must be somebody taking responsibility. So if we start from up there, then these small people who are stealing chicken and all these things, that one will just play itself around. Once you see that the top heads the heads are rolling at the top, then things will work out.
We have, even with the example that you've given, some members of parliament have been complaining. People who steal chicken are being, prosecuted more, in fact, more seriously than people who are stealing billions of shillings from the country. We even had, the governor, Mike Sonko, speaking at a public forum, saying that Maina Kamanda has grabbed land. He's talking about corruption, talking about how Peter Kenneth has looted Kenya Re to the ground. We have had discussions where even members of parliament complain, saying that these issues of corruption is politicized. Former governor, the current governor for Kiambu County, that is Ferdinand Wanjitu, even says that the report that was given last week towards the committee, the Senate committee concerning the allocations of fund and how Kiambu County has been using its funds was not the report that was actually there. At the end of the day, it all circulates around corruption. What are your thoughts on this? How are we dealing with corruption? We are accusing each other. Leaders seemingly, we know each other. In fact, the governor talked about Maina Kamanda grabbing land. Seemingly, people may know each other, but it is not reflected within the judicial system. Yeah,
because when you go to small people committing a crime, these are people who may not have the funds and the means to defend themselves adequately. But people who have dealt with mega corruption, they have money. They'll throw money around, they'll hire the topmost lawyers, they will do anything to protect themselves. And also to make sure that they're not locked up in the jail, and they'll be walking around, the cases will go on, the guy is out. The poor man who cannot raise a bail is rotting away in jail. And you find, like what happened in Kiambu and which came to parliament. Normally when the auditor raises a query, that query is given to the, for example, the Kiambu County government. And the same query is the one that was forwarded to Parliament. That's why the Parliament had to summon the governor to come and appear and clarify some of those issues. It's not that he didn't know. That report came from him.
So he knew?
He knew what was going on. And if they had clarification on that, they should have come up with a report saying that this is not what happened, this is the correct scenario, and therefore they can explain themselves out. Then the Parliament will refer them back to the auditor.
And the governor said that he did not see that report. He says that he doesn't believe that that is the report from Kiambu government.
No,
that it was a replica from the national government.
No. Let him ask his people where did that report come from, because there's no way it can end up in Parliament if it had not been raised by the auditor. The auditor must have raised some queries on some account lines in his budget, and that's why they were asking why this item that does not fall under the county is being paid from the county fund.
South Sudan.
Yeah, because you cannot take paying for the retired president. That's not your function. Free primary education is not your function. Paying for South Sudan, that is also not a function of the county government. So it is not about rocket science. It is just pure and simple that you are dealing with issues that are just at your desk. He should have gone through that report before coming to Parliament, because it's like he was surprised. He may not have read, he may not have known, but his people know what was going on. Yeah.
Quite interesting there.
They know exactly what was contained in that report. You see, what the chairman of PAC was reading, he was just reading verbatim what was in the report. There was nothing cooked. If it was, then it was done in Kiambu County. Yeah, so I don't know where the story is. You know,
he says it is politicized to tarnish his name.
Let him come out and show us the correct account. Then people will clear his name, because we want to know, because what this money, they spend it on what? 900 and something million on free primary education. What was it spent on in the county? What was this money allocated to State House? I don't know what was it spent on. He should give us now those guidelines, how the county budgeted for that cash. Otherwise, it will just be covering up. It will not be something that is being explained properly.
What do you think about members of parliament, leaders accusing each other on public fora, within the church pulpit of corruption? People are saying, you stole this, you grabbed this, you did this, you are corrupt. What do you think about these allegations?
I think that is a drama that is actually politicizing the fight against corruption. Accusing each other without any evidence or anything that can, you know, if you have any information about somebody being corrupt, there are chances. You can take that information to the CID, you can take it to the police, and let that information has been given to ESCC or whatever, be used to investigate that allegation. Because the moment you just go throwing names around, sometimes people just want to tarnish your name because maybe it's a political rival, maybe something that he has a hold against you. And you know, by tarnishing your name, it will be flashed over the media. People will read about you and know that, oh, this guy is like that, is like this. The best way, present the information to the right agencies, let them deal with it. Then
but do you see that if that's going to happen, even the governor himself is, you know, accusing other, you know, like the former member of parliament, Maina Kamanda, he's even accusing Peter Kenneth from corruption allegations. And
if you look at it carefully, in the last election, Maina Kamanda fronted Peter Kenneth against Kidero, and they were running against Songo. So it is still politics, because
still politics.
Peter Kenneth was Songo's rival.
Miguna
yes,
made the same allegations during you know, the gubernatorial debates.
Yes.
Even accusing Mike Sonko himself,
yes,
being a corrupt leader.
Yeah, even Kidero said.
Even Kidero.
Kidero said that some of when Songo said Kidero was a thief, Songo said Songo himself is also running around with the criminal gangs and all that kind of things. And you see, this is accusation and counter-accusation of each other. You know, when we go there and then you focus on issues that are irrelevant, then you miss the point. Because even at that debate, they were being asked very valid questions. What will you do for Nairobi if you are elected as the governor of Nairobi? And people deviated from that question and started accusing each other, saying, oh, how the other one is a thief,
but they
how
know each
the
other.
other one is, quietly, when they leave behind the scene, they'll be shaking hands and even hugging each other. But at the glare of cameras, they want to look like the other one is more rotten than me. So it is something that sometimes people play to the gallery. And away from the cameras, nothing happens. They are sitting somewhere sharing a drink.
The DPP had said this, and I would like to quote, "We are not just going to charge you, then probably get a sentence. We put you in jail and go back to enjoy your proceedings of crime 10 years later. What we are doing now is following the money."
Yes.
So far, with regards to corruption, we are trying to find out where the money has gone to. They are trying to follow the money. Do you think this money will ever be caught? So far, we had some funds that were gotten, but it seems to be like a drop in the ocean.
Yeah, but the DPP should also be careful not to be dragged into making statements that will jeopardize his even nailing the people who are corrupt. Because the moment you start disclosing what you are doing, people become clever. You know, those people who have stolen the money, that money is not even here. It is hidden somewhere outside the country. So for you to get to that, you must be smart enough that you get evidence and you follow that lead until you get where the funds is. But the moment you disclose, they become more clever. They will even hide it even more. And if somebody is keeping money away from the country, for you to get it, you must get also the support of where the money is. You must get the support, maybe if it's in another country, the support of that government of that country. So for you, you must always follow. He is not a politician. Mm-hmm. So he should stop making comments that will put him, you know, into like he's being, it's like saying I'm already guilty when he has not come up with any evidence to nail me.
Some MPs say that he should not even be talking in the media.
He shouldn't. You
agree with that?
Yes, I do. Because I don't know why he should make such a comments. Because if you go and arrest somebody, before even you take him to court, you are already alluding to what you are going to charge him with, the kind of evidence you have. You know, that one is neither here or there. Our law provides that you are innocent until, you know, you are found guilty. So the allegations just remains that. It's allegations.
We would like you to be part of this conversation. And so far, the hashtag is Good Morning Kenya, still on Twitter at KBC Television, at Jane Wambui, at Ray Manyara, and at Ram Aguko. What are your thoughts concerning what's happening within the country, the political debates that are going on? So far, we are having, you know, tags of war. Keep your tweets coming in, keep your comments coming in on Twitter. The hashtag Good Morning Kenya. And so far, Honorable, what are you doing to take Westlands to the next level? That is your constituency. Yeah.
My mandate is to make sure I deliver services to the people of Westlands. And what we are doing is we are trying to improve on various issues, security, and we are trying to improve on education level, how we can improve our schools so that children who go to public schools also learn in a good environment. Not parents worrying about children being in public school, not getting a good or a quality education like those who are in private schools. So some of the things that we have focused on is to raise the level of education in public institutions by improving the infrastructure and also making sure that the environment of learning in those schools is just as good as what is in private schools. We're also working on the infrastructure to make sure that the roads and other means of transport are properly serviced. And there are quite a number of roads that have not been worked on. And some, you know, the law that deals with infrastructure has given several functions, some to the county government, some to the central government. So my role is just to make sure that the money allocated for any infrastructure within the constituency are dealt with.
But now these are your roles. Have you done anything so far?
Yes. We are pushing, and there are already some roads which are being recarpeted. Schools are on. We are some places where we're constructing schools, some where we are refurbishing what's existing, and many other things, and rehabilitating some of the institutions like the health facilities that are in the constituencies that are not functioning, so that people cannot go different directions. And also we are doing a lot of things. You know, Westlands is a prime area, and there are many interests there. So there are many also land grabbers who are coming in all the time, and you know, grabbing schools, grabbing any empty facility, any empty space that is there. And some of these things we have to be alert. I've been engaging people so that whenever they see anybody trying to do anything that is not right, so that they can blow the whistle, and then we can move in and help to reinstate the facilities to the public.
Concerning what you've just mentioned there, actually, land has been grabbed from your constituency.
Yeah.
And weeks ago, you together with members of High Ridge Estate, and you were protesting there with regards to land that was grabbed. In fact, someone was actually building rental houses there. So far, how is it when it comes to fighting land grabbers?
You know, land grabbers are just as clever as the corrupt people. And this is these are the proceeds of corruption, because you find this person has title deeds or documents on the property. And this property is a public property. And you find he has been even cleared to do development. And who clears them? The City Hall. City Hall gives them the clearance to do the development. When you go there, the guy has documentation from all over, from all the government agencies, from NEMA, from the Ministry of Lands, and all that. And when you go and try to investigate properly, you find actually this is a public utility.
So should the problem be with the person who acquired the land or the person who authorized the acquisition? All of them
are corrupt, because the person who is doing development is corrupted other people. And those people have accepted to be corrupted, because why would the City Hall clear a person who doesn't have a good title to a property? And you know, like the property in Parklands, even the governor himself went there and declared that this land had been grabbed previously by the past regime and has been returned to the county. So the county government is going to allocate it for construction of a school, and the school for children with special needs, which he said himself. And a few days later, we see the change of what is going on, because now there's a new developer. The person who is developing is private. It's not the county government. It's not.
You've confirmed that?
Yes, we have. We have confirmed that. The person who is doing there is doing residential houses on that land. It's not the kind of thing that we've been told about. You see, that is now makes it look like who is lying here. You know, who is lying, because if it has the National Land Commission has written to the county government and say this land has been returned to you. Now it's upon you now to use it for the public utility. And then within no time, you find somebody is developing. Has the person has he leased the land from the county government, or what is going on? That's something we want to know.
Have you consulted the governor concerning this?
We have.
And I remember there was a time, actually, when you were protesting with people, you called out for the governor. And in your own words, you say that when he was still a senator, he used to fight for these things. He used to fight for land grabbers, against land grabbers. He was fighting for the people. And you say that it's like he has loosened the belt.
When Mike Songo was a senator, he even helped me reinstate some of the grabbed lands. There was once we went with him to flush out people who are trying to grab land somewhere in Loresho and some other places. And you remember he was very active. as a senator. I'm also looking for the senator of Nairobi. I don't know what he's doing because his voice is not heard.
He isn't speaking.
No, we have not. I don't know where he disappeared because his voice is not heard. When these things
talking in public forums
when these things are going on, he should come up and voice is the senator. He's supposed to oversight many things in Nairobi. So for example, he's supposed to oversight the county government. Look at what the county government is doing. The things you see what is happening in Kiambu, those are the things that he can bring to the Senate, because Senate is a prefect of the county government. And if the senator is not speaking, then we don't know what is going on. Because me as a member of parliament, yes, we have the role to play, but the person who is directly involved here is the senator. He should tell us exactly. When Sonko was the senator, you saw I was dealing with the Kidero. He was all over Kidero. And Kidero is, at one time they even almost exchanged blows in parliament. Because Sonko was coming with documents and flashing and showing him, you see, this is what is happening.
So far, you're not seeing anything that Senator Sakaja is doing?
Completely nothing, because I don't know. Maybe he's interested in something else.
You're interested in seeing them exchange blows in parliament?
Not exchange blows, but they should come up and tell us whether he's happy with the running and management of the county government or not, because he is directly involved. And in fact, that's the role of the senator, to oversight the county governments.
But the senator is doing something. You know, it's even in the public domain when it comes to him rallying young parliamentarians. They went to Mombasa a couple of days ago.
Yes, it's good for him to rally young parliamentarians, but look at the constitutional mandate, what the constitution says about a senator. What is his role? That
is just an example of what he's doing.
Yes, the role of member of parliament for a member of National Assembly, one, is representation. I have to represent people who have elected me. Number two, I have to do legislation. Number three, I have to oversight the national government. The role of the senator, one, is to oversight over the county government. And that's why they're elected as county representatives, not as a national representative, because me, I represent the national issues, and we have to deal with the legislation and all manner of things in the national government. And we have to look at what the national government is doing. Of course, we can also oversight the Senate, but the direct mandate is given to the senators. Yeah.
Speaking of land grabbers there, so far, do you have any expectations from the county government of Nairobi with regards to helping you fight land grabbers within your constituency? And do you think they will help you?
I'm yet to hear their voice, but I believe they will come out and speak about it, because, land in Nairobi belongs actually to city council, to city county government. So if any space of land is grabbed, it's the city council that they should come out and give direction. They say, because they have even the power to lease that land out. They can lease it to a private developer and guide how it will be dealt with. But if that has not been given, if this land, for example, is earmarked for a construction of a fire station, or is earmarked for construction of a hospital, and you find somebody is putting on presidential houses, then they should explain to the public what is going on, where will the fire station be, because you realize in Nairobi, the fire station is operated from one point. When there's fire in any direction, the engine have to race from the city center to the places, when we should have these places, the nearest area, the nearest point so far, so that the response, when there is distress, they should be very quick and get to the scene within the shortest time possible.
So far, there are some places within Western's constituency that seemingly may not look good when it comes to reaching out. Some slums there.
Yes, yes.
What are you doing to remove people from having that, remove the slum areas, to change the standards of living within your constituency?
What we try to do is maybe there's a program in the government of slum upgrading. And when you do slum upgrading, you must get infrastructure. For example, when we go there, we want to encourage people not to encroach on the road, so that the roads remain, passable. That when there's something happening, even these fire stations, fire engines, they can come and pass and reach the point where there's distress. But when we find people encroaching on the land, and when you go there, most of these, it's not just in Westlands, like in the whole of Nairobi. You find in slum areas, people have built in such a way that even you going there on foot, it's not very easy, because every space has been consumed, and that gives a lot of challenge for the other amenities to function. So we need to, and that needs planning. And we must go back to planning. How do we plan properly so that we can upgrade these areas? Yes, we don't want to remove people, we don't want to disturb the movement, the residents of the people, but we want also to ensure that these people are safe wherever they're staying. They can have supply of water, they can have access roads, they can have other amenities supplied to them, so that if you go to South Africa, Soweto, you know, Soweto was restructured, replanned. You go there, it's an informal settlement, but very clear. The roads are there. You find all amenities are available to them. So if anything happens, it's easy to access and reach the farthest corner of that area. But here is very, very difficult.
Githogoro.
Yes.
It's one of your, of Nairobi's grossly, underserved informal settlements. We have an estimated population of 15,000 residents.
Maybe more.
Maybe more.
Yes.
Is it possible with this number of people, based on your plan, for slum, changing the status, slum development matters, changing the lives of the standards of living, 15,000 people, based on what you have, the budget? Do you have the budget for it? Do you have the planning? Do you have the strategy for it? And is it possible to remove this number of people, over 15,000 people, according to you?
We cannot move them. What we do is we engage them to show them that we need to do planning, so that if your house is actually on the road, you just move back. You just move back so that you can leave space for the development of the road. We need sanitation. If you are, for example, constructed in an area where, from the planning of city council, is maybe a place for sewer or for toilets, then you need to move from that area. So we don't want to move people per se, but we want to create infrastructure in these areas, so that when we go there, we have to encourage the leaders of that area. You don't come from outside and just go there and start telling people, we want to put a toilet here, we want to put something, whatever here. There are people there who know what is supposed to be done. They know where the road is supposed to pass. They know exactly where we are supposed to have what. If it's a market, if it's a school, then once you have that information, then you can go in and start planning. And what we are doing is that we are engaging other stakeholders. For example, I've engaged Nairobi University, and they are the ones who are coming in to help us with the planning of that upgrading of that slum area, so that they'll come up with a blueprint, a planning, so that we can now use it to execute.
Do you have a timeline?
No, we don't really have timeline, but we have to work within the shortest time. We cannot leave it that maybe it can run for years and years. We want, because it's not a very expansive area, once they've come out through, we need the cooperation of the people, we need the cooperation of the leaders on the ground, we need the cooperation of everybody, so that when they are going around, for example, asking about, most of, when you go to the slum area, typical slum areas, they don't have sanitation.
Okay.
That is one of the biggest problems. And that's why we are seeing, why do we have cholera in Nairobi? Nairobi is a city it should not have those issues that could be happening somewhere else. But inside the city, we are having this because of poor sanitation. We do not have, in some of those areas, people have built houses, but no toilets, or no clean water, supply of clean water to the people. So people go collecting water from, other points, and that is what is going to create. The water is not safe. The living condition is not good. In fact, if you went through the UN in Habitat, that will be a hazard.
But some people still don't have confidence in you when it comes to taking Westlands constituency to the next level.
Yeah, there are always people who have their own issues, but I believe what I came to do, I've done most of it. And the time I've been given, I'll continue doing what I think is right for the people of Westlands. And I don't do it by myself. I do it with the people because I try to bring the people along with me so that whatever I'm doing is not for me, it's for them. So that's my take.
That is your take. Whatever you're doing is not for you, it's for them.
It's for the people.
Let's talk about what you're doing.
Yes.
Whether for you or for other people. When it comes to, the Big Four agenda.
Yes.
Individually, we talk about housing, because you've mentioned whatever you're doing, housing. What are you doing so far as a member of parliament to support this one agenda, housing, affordable housing?
Yes. One, we have already done the legislation about this program of housing. We have gone through, we have even gone through the regulations, which we have given the ministry, but also we have raised issues about how they're going to fund the project. Secondly, where are they going to find the land to build these houses? Is it government going to provide land, or are they going to ask private people to give land for the development of houses? And those are some of the things that we are looked at. And then we look, for example, if you are coming to upgrade Kangemi and give people of Kangemi decent housing, how are you going to approach it? And that's the area that we need to engage more, and then we engage with the people, because people who are there are some who have lived there throughout their life.
Do you have a solution that maybe you can be able to bring on board to help in getting affordable housing for Kenyans at the same time as you oppose the housing levy?
I think I oppose because I don't oppose per se, but they have to be clear on what they are going to do. This is the mandate of the government. It is not for me as a member of parliament. Mine is to make sure that the right thing is being done, that the law that is there is clearly followed. If they come, for example, in Kangemi, they want to, in Kangemi or any of the slum areas, whether it's Kidogoro, whether it's Kibakari, to upgrade that area, they must approach in such a way that they are not going to disturb the settlement of the people without providing a solution. For example, if you are coming to say, we are building houses here, you people move, you must provide the alternative. Show them where they are moving to, and then you do the housing and make sure that the same people who are here, who are settled here, are the direct beneficiaries of that project. But the moment you construct and give it to someone else, then you have displaced the original owners of that place. That is the area that we must deal with very, very carefully. Because what happens in this country, there are people who are sitting somewhere waiting to benefit from these projects than the people who are earmarked to benefit. So we must protect this small person, that if something happens there, he must be the one to benefit. And the other thing that we're asking, even the Minister of Housing, why are they going around and living around National Housing Corporation, which should have been... should have
taken the mandate.
They should have taken the mandate to implement that project, because they are already there in existence. They don't have to reinvent the wheel. But now they are trying to create a new agency that will do the implementation. You know now, what is the role of the National Housing Corporation? It is going to be, it is something that we must really keep on talking about.
All right, number two. Let's talk about the support towards universal health care.
Universal healthcare is something that can be done and can be done by the national government. I believe that when we devolved health to counties, I think that was a mistake.
It's a mistake to devolve health.
It's a mistake because we should have left the smaller level the way it was with the counties. When we had the local government, they were dealing with small issues like dispensaries and all that. But the other major health care is taken care by the national government. The county government don't have capacity to deal with health.
You know, some counties have already, started these issues. Makwini County started it. 4 counties, Machakos County started it. And seemingly, they are doing much better than others who have not started it.
Yeah, but you realize that some counties, for example, we talk about hospital level 5 and level what. Some hospitals don't have that. They don't have any of those facilities. So for them to do that, they have to start from the scratch. They have to start from nil. And the other mistake that the government did was to kind of procure equipment for the counties. And some of these equipments, these hospitals don't have a place to keep them, or they don't have space. Even the existing hospital cannot house those equipment. So some of those equipments are lying somewhere. Just gathering dust.
Which, with regards to universal health, we are having a debate again within the Senate committee concerning allocation of funds there.
Yes, allocation of funds. See what is happening even in Kenyatta Hospital. Why a patient being held at the hospital? Because the government promised to pay for maternity. For anybody who is going to give birth, the government was supposed to foot the bill 100%. But they're not doing that. Now the hospitals are grappling with those issues. And then they're pushing it to the county government. The county government don't have the money to pay the bill.
Some hospitals don't even have enough beds.
Yes, they don't have the bills, the money to pay those bills. The central government should come in and foot the bill and clear, and then have a clear policy as how they are going to deal with the issues of maternity, because whoever promised that was not the county government, it was the national government.
But as a leader, are you supporting the government in this? Because you're saying the government should have done this, should have done that, should have done this, they're not doing this. The government. What about you? Because
the government is the one given the mandate to run these things, and the government is given even the power to levy, to collect taxes. They have the money. We have appropriated the money for the government. When they bring the budget, we give them the money from Parliament. So as a member of Parliament, my work is to oversight and make sure that whatever they're doing is the thing they brought to Parliament and told us, we are going to give us this money, we are going to do ABCD. Then we have given the money and we are not doing it. So I'll not sit around and start praising them when I'm not seeing what they're doing. So I'm not part of government. Mine is a member of Parliament representing the people. And the government must do its mandate. I'm not part of the executive. The executive are given the money to run the government.
You will not praise what you don't see?
I can only praise when I see something happening. For example, we gave you money to come and construct a road in my constituency, and I've seen that road done. I'll come and say, well done. You have done the road, and within the time that it was allocated, I say, well done. Well done. But we'll still even ask you, if I say well done, I'll ask you, well, we gave you 2 billion. How much did you use on doing this road? If you don't account for that, then we will still ask you, where is the other money? You see?
Let's talk of manufacturing then.
Yes.
How are you supporting it?
With the manufacturing, we have to deal with issues of the imports versus exports, because our market is flooded by cheap imports from outside.
And even the counterfeit goods.
Yes, and counterfeits. And we must fight these things for us to support local manufacturing, because so many of our factories have collapsed because of the influx of these cheaply imported goods that can easily be gotten from. We have seen even on the shelves in our supermarkets, you find even eggs imported from other countries. We've seen fruits which are produced locally are found on our shelves. We've seen factories, sugar factories collapse because there's cheap sugar brought in from other sources. So for us to support manufacturing, we must protect our industries. And for us protecting industries, we must make sure that the imports are not the things that can be produced locally, or they can only, government give the quota of how much do we need to top up maybe what we are not getting enough from our industries. So we support our manufacturers that we must get the industries back on foot. And the government must also support, because what is happening in our country is the cost of production is too high, that makes our goods not to compete effectively with the goods that are coming in from outside.
And even the taxation also plays a role here.
Yeah, and the taxation. So if you look at countries like US and some countries in Europe, they really protect their local industry. That's why you see those countries have developed, and they're the ones who are almost manufacturing anything and everything and exporting to other places of the world. So we must always make sure that our industries are shielded from unfair competition.
All right.
Yeah.
Mheshimiwa, let's head over to the tweets now. All right.
Yeah,
And then we can sample them as you answer. Some are questions, some are comments.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
At Ndavula asks, kindly ask Honorable T. Wanyonyi about his opinion on the handshake. I like his honesty. Right.
The handshake, as you realize, brought in this country a semblance of some sanity and created stability, brought in peace that has now made people to start going around doing their things without worrying. Before that, there was tension in the country, and when you look at this handshake, we must always praise the Honorable Raila Odinga, because he is a man who puts this country before anything else. If he was like, we have seen in other countries, people who coach stamping and say, if it is not me, then it cannot happen. No. This country will have gone to the dogs. But because he stood back and went and embraced President Uhuru, whom he had accused of stealing election, I think that is a sign of statesman. And we must embrace this. Let people not take it lightly. And through the handshake, other things are going to come up, like reforms of the constitution, so that we don't have another bungled election. We don't want to call another election when the winner is already predetermined. So that is the effects of handshake. Is it has brought Kenya back. So we must thank the president and the Honorable Raila Odinga for initiating that. And people should look beyond. There are people who are saying it was a two-man affair. Some are not happy. It's dividing some people from one political, because of parochial interests. We don't. If you think small, then you'll always play small. But you must think big and also look at the bigger picture. What was the president and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga thinking about when they came to shake hands? Before they came out, so much had gone behind the scenes. Yeah. I like what you've said. If you think small, you'll always play small. Yes. Powerful word there. Powerful word there. Keep the tweets coming in. At Ogweri saying, loving the candid discussion. All right. Thank you very much. A tweet here. Talking of Governor Sonko, how can you rate him as the governor of Nairobi? Yeah. Governor is... let's give him maybe we rate in terms of out of 10. I'll give him 5. All right. Yeah. 5 out of 10. Yeah. All right. Another tweet here. I like how Honorable T. Wanyonyi is very honest about the issue of debt in the country and the housing levy. All right. Thank you very much. I see you've gotten supporters, more supporters here. At Caesar, saying, watching the show from Umoja, loving the discussion. I think what we lack in Kenya is public participation. We were never told of the housing levy or the Huduma number. Yeah, that is true. The Constitution provides for public participation. And I think what is lacking is the guidance. We don't have the the legislation to guide what is supposed to be public participation. Because people who are doing public participation, they are doing their own things. For example, we have seen that people come to Parliament and you ask them about, did you do public participation? He says, yes. Can you show us the evidence? And then they show you the evidence. All people who participated were government officials. They went to this ministry and asked the ministry, what do you want us to do?
That is public participation.
That is public participation. Public participation, you are supposed to go down there and ask the man, Mama Mboka, you are supposed to go and ask the artisan on the street, you go and ask those small people, do you think this thing will benefit you? That is public participation. Not asking a government agency because they will just support the government.
What are your thoughts concerning the Huduma number issue?
Huduma number also, you know, it's like, it was kind of an ambush, I can say.
People do not know. It's a headache nowadays.
Because even now, when you go to register, you find the kind of questionnaire, it's like they're encroaching on your privacy. They are asking you questions, so deep questions, which I believe that information the government already has. Because asking me like, my father's date of birth, and what my spouse and all those kind of things,
children.
until that is, I think it's a violation of privacy, of somebody's privacy.
Do we have laws within the country that are protecting you know, the information, you know, that people are putting towards the government? Do you have laws that are protecting the rights of the citizens in terms of, you know, content, in terms of privacy?
The laws are there, even in the Constitution. We can just look at the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. There are certain things that, for example, so there are some things that you cannot actually try to, unless you are investigating me over an allocation of something. Some of those information are private, they are pertinent. Because what we're asking is that how safe is this information that people are giving to the government? Because somebody can if that information is hacked, you see our systems are not safe, they are being hacked by everybody. People can hack you and even clone you and clone you and create you into something else. You know, somebody going to your bank with information, exact information that you have given the bank.
Because the question comes in, is all the information protected?
Yes, how is the information protected? Because all that is what they need to assure people, that this information is safe. Yes, we know the intention is good, saying that we have to collapse everything into one document, so that when you walk around, you're not going to walk around with a driving license, with an ID, with a blah blah. So that is good. But how safe is that information that we are giving you?
Let me read one more tweet here. At Yvonne Miyandi says, how about the issue of demolitions? So many marketplaces being demolished in Nairobi. What is happening?
It is also still go back to planning. If you come and people have settled here, and they settled there, they did not land there, they have settled there when the government was watching, when all this was happening. If you come and you want maybe to upgrade that area, or you want to reclaim the area, you must give sufficient notice to the people, but not go and just wake up at night the way we do. That you wake up at night, you left your premises properly secured with your property. Then you come in the morning, it's flooded. It's been removed, and your property destroyed. That is something that really we must guard against, because they are violating the right to people owning property in this country. So if you licensed and you've been collecting money from these people, why would you want to turn up in the morning at one time and just demolish? Secondly, any development in Nairobi is licensed. So we cannot look around and say, this person just came and constructed here or there. So they must also find people who licensed these people to develop in certain areas, also culpable, because we cannot just punish one person and leave the others.
Right.
Yeah.
Keep the tweets coming in. The hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter, at KBC Television, at Jane Wambui, at Ram Aguko. We had Honorable Tim Wanyonyi, Member of Parliament from Westlands constituency. As we wrap things up, Mheshimiwa, you can have a final word as we bring these things to a conclusion. Speak to the Mwananchi.
You know, as an elected Member of Parliament, I want to assure the people who elected me and the country at large that my role as a Member of Parliament is to represent you, is to defend the rights of Mwananchi and make sure that the central government and the county government, any funds appropriated to them, any money given to them to do development is channeled to the right channels. We also want to assure Wananchi that as a Member of Parliament, I'll keep my focus and I'll remain a representative of the people at the end of the day. That is my mandate and that's my primary role, and I will not deviate from that. I cannot protect people who are looting us. I will speak against them and I will expose them, because if you come to loot, the right word to use, you are just a common thief, like anybody who is stealing chicken anywhere or who is stealing those small things. Person who is stealing Mecca property, they are thieves like any other thief. So the punishment should just be extended and should not be treated with child class. So I want to thank every Kenyan who has worked with me, who has supported my vision, and who have made sure that I remain their Member of Parliament. I will serve you to the best of my ability.
All right. That is Honorable Tim Wanyonyi. Speaking of vision, what is your vision for 2022?
Let us cross the bridge when we reach there. But as a politician, you must always have an ambition.
All right.
At least I know we are going to do reforms in the Constitution. When that happens, I know things are going to change, because one of the things that we are going to put out there to the people, will the government come back to Parliament so that we have cabinet ministers appointed from Parliament, not from outside. That is one of the things that we are looking at, because have we done well with the cabinet secretaries not being members of Parliament? That is one of the things that we ask, because these people, they are appointees of the president, and therefore they are answerable to the president. We want people to be answerable to Parliament.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pertinent questions there. And I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Even as we wait to cross that bridge.
Yes.
But seemingly others might have crossed it before us.
Yeah, some say when you are running marathon, you must be tactful.
You must be tactful.
Because you might run like you are running 200 meters, but you are going to run for a very long time. So wanasema in Kiswahili they say kutangulia sio kufika.
That is Honorable Tim Wanyonyi, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. It's all about putting matters politics into perspective. Keep the tweets coming in. You know, I'm seeing lots of tweets. I'm not able to sample all of them, but I appreciate it. The hashtag is Good Morning Kenya, at KBC Television, at Jane Wambui, at Ram Aguko. Speaking of which, Jane Wambui is coming up next with Family Matters. Do not go too far. This is Good Morning Kenya. Mheshimiwa, asante sana.
Thank you.